Hello and welcome everyone to today's webinar. The title of the webinar is How Can Mobility Help Optimize Your Supply Chain? My name is Eric Levy. I'm the Director of Sales here at Meridian Business Services, and I'm joined by John Hall, Enablement Consultant at our partner DSI. Meridian Business Services is a CPA firm. We resell and implement Oracle's NetSuite platform, which we'll talk more about in a minute. And we have a close partnership with DSI on mobility and supply chain optimization, so they are a perfect partner for today's webinar. A little background on Meridian before I hand this off to John to dive deep into mobility. Meridian is a Kansas City-based CPA firm. We have traditional CPA services, both for individuals and corporations, business valuations, fractional CFO services, as well as a NetSuite practice. Now, NetSuite is a mid-market ERP. It's really Oracle's cloud strategy for the future in the small and mid-market space. We implement NetSuite. We bring in third-party solutions such as DSI, and we help with business process optimization in implementing the NetSuite platform. So NetSuite, in case you're wondering what it is a cloud-based platform, meaning that it's delivered software as a service and combines all of the functional areas of your organization. Everything from warehouse inventory management, traditional ERP accounting functionality, to manufacturing, supply chain management, and then also non-traditional ERP functionality, such as a best-in-class CRM system that's integrated in, best-in-class e-commerce platform, project accounting and project management built in, as well as time and expense accounting. So one solution to run your entire business operations, one core of data across each of these different swim lanes. So for the customer, we look at it as a customer 360. All of your customer information is in one system, no more accounting having one set of information and sales having another set of information in the CRM, maybe even support having another set of customer information. Everything is in one system about that customer. All of the item information is in the system. So whether somebody is buying something off of your website through NetSuite's e-commerce platform, or a sales rep is looking up customer information or inventory status, it's the same across the board because it's the same database driving that information. So no additional PIM, product information management system in this case. That's all built into NetSuite, or no costly integrations to a third-party e-commerce platform. As I mentioned, NetSuite has a best-in-class e-commerce platform. And then the third swim lane we look across is the orders, or the Order 360. So no matter what channel an order is placed within, whether it's in person at a retail location or counter sales in more industrialized applications, or online or over the phone, all of that order information flows through seamlessly through the same process. So no more having to do batch updates from an e-commerce system, or worry about orders getting lost in translation across your various systems. All of that is surrounded by a single source of the truth. So you might be wondering, okay, how does DSI play into this mix? Well, we utilize DSI for mobilizing these applications. That's what John is going to be talking quite a bit about today, is how do you mobilize your applications and then also optimize your supply chain. So no matter where it is in the supply chain, that information, the information from the system, is accessible easily over a mobile device. So without further ado, I'll make an introduction to John Hall. He is an enablement consultant at DSI. He has decades of experience with mobile applications and helping organizations really optimize their supply chain. So with that said, John, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you. That picture was about 50 pounds ago, I think. That's a sharp-looking picture of me. So thanks. I think I noticed that some of the names that are on our presentation today were people that may have been through some classes with me. So if I've interacted with you in the past, I really it's good to see you again. And let me see if I can get the screen going. There we go. So I'm going to be talking about how mobility can help sort of optimize the supply chain. And if I have any problems with my audio, please somebody speak up, and I will try to correct that. Kind of want to start by talking about just the supply chain industry in general. And like most industries, you know, supply chain is experiencing many changes right now, and organizations are confronted with new regulations and compliance issues, process issues, and you know, speed and agility needs that come along. So I think everybody can kind of relate to the fact that these are some of the traditional challenges that are happening. And many of the customers that come to DSI today, you know, are seeking a traditional supply chain model. We have suppliers, you know, building things, or they have suppliers that are building things, and they're tracking what's going on in manufacturing facilities. And often, you know, these organizations experience a disconnect in their supply chain. We think that an end-to-end view of the supply chain helps eliminate some of these points of disconnect, you know, where the customer is sort of connected there. So having an end-to-end view of the supply chain helps you be, you know, that much better as a supplier to your customers. And the age of the omni-channel customer, you know, today sort of means that people want better access to information at every step of that process, including accurate shipping information, for instance. So all inventory information, you know, has to be tracked in a much more effective way. That's kind of our position on that. So the enterprise mobility world, you know, is made up of a lot of different components. And anybody that has experience with iOS or Android today, they can create an app. There's a lot of ways to do that. Plenty of tools out there that can create apps. The challenge is actually creating the user interface and sort of the visual layer of that application. That's a big challenge. And so connecting devices in real time or in a disconnected environment can be difficult, but DSI gives companies the ability to not only create an interesting user interface, but also the ability to connect different types of systems. And many of our customers have used our certified connectors, whether it's an Infor product or an SAP product or an Oracle product. We have certified connectors, which are bulletproof connections that drive really fast, efficient information exchange, you know, for organizations with different processes. And as you get into the mobile supply chain world, you have to be agile enough to connect to these different systems. And when you go through an acquisition, maybe for instance, and you purchase a company that has a completely different system of record or a system, when you change systems, do you have to change all the processes, or can you continue to work outside of that system? So what we want to do is we want to say, can you take and create these new connections that exist to these new applications in a timely fashion? That's the question we want to ask. And it's important to keep track of all of your new business needs, as well as managing processes that you've been delivering on for some time. So that's kind of the big question. You might go through an acquisition, and you need to be able to work. So let's talk about this real quick. DSI really prides itself on being able to resolve significant business challenges, and our mobile platform gives clients the ability to meet the omni-channel need. Regardless of device, the platform delivers the ability to leverage a process that's created once in multiple places. And sometimes it's hard to track the opportunity cost losses because you might make a decision to automate a process. But if you can't do that quickly, you're losing inventory. You need the capability to address problems quickly. To adapt to the demands of the digital economy, we encourage a more open approach to talking to and receiving information from other systems, and that includes being able to layer different platform development tools on top of our connectors. Many customers use our tools to communicate with back office systems based on their specific business needs. Anyone can dump data into a database, right? But it takes a little more work to talk to the business logic of the system. And so the Internet of Things has also become an increasingly important factor, and DSI has delivered machine-to-machine integration for organizations to be able to sense what's happening in a supply line and respond to those things accordingly. And this could look like automating physical processes or delivering fuel or monitoring processes on an assembly line. So the key to effectively going mobile is knowing you cannot just shrink down your ERP system into a smartphone and call that mobile, right? I teach classes, and that's just not how that works. So you truly have to have a new user interface and a new way of interacting with those systems. Our solution accelerators that we have are designed to meet some of those out-of-the-box needs, to have a design for end users to take advantage of system adoption and those type of things. And adopting a new system is crucial across the board. Organizations need to be able to really define a process and roll out a tool to meet that process, and then have people adopt that tool and start using it to experience the benefits, right? So the DSI mobile platform gives customers the ability to have a robust back-end integration, full third-party tools, and cloud-based services. And it enables organizations to optimize processes across the extended supply chain with a fast, agile development methodology. All right, so let's talk about that a little bit. Now, regardless of whether you're doing materials management or inventory receipts or quotes for orders or direct store delivery, work order management, business intelligence, maybe PO approvals, material management types of functions, you have to be able to push things out in a user-friendly way. And you've got to be able to define a process for your organization and design a tool that completes that process. And it has to meet the specific needs of the end users of a mobile solution. So here's an example, right, that demonstrates an application for a crew management solution accelerator. Now in this scenario, I have a button that I can touch to manage my crew, but I also have daily reports that I need to do. And my daily reports might talk to a project management system or display a daily log to see what's happening on my job, who showed up, what's the weather like, those sorts of things. And one of the real advantages of a mobile application is not just the ability to mobilize the application, but it provides the ability to create a process that mobilizes your business processes across multiple applications. The user needs an interface they can interact with in a timely fashion so they can do their job quickly. And information needs to get to the appropriate place so your back office staff can start doing their jobs, right? So we have an example of a tablet-based app here. And if you look at the information on the left-hand side, you see people that are in the system of record. And you can select people out of this left-hand column and put them into a specific work crew. All of the hours that they work are going to be charged on this specific project. And you're pulling lots of information onto one screen, including HR, project and accounting information, and this creates more real-time access to what's happening with crews in the field. Now we're going to take a look at an example of a mobile sales force. And imagine if you could have your mobile sales force identifying customer locations in a turn-by-turn fashion. You're thinking that's easy. They can just do that on their smartphone. But having integration that allows them to create and edit sales orders directly into their device allows the workers just to click and they can see where they're supposed to go, all from the same mobile device. And they can also check and confirm inventory, just like that. Another example here of Chivas. And Chivas is an example of a distributor that we have in Scotland, across Europe and across Asia and across Australia. And they use mobile applications. I'm sorry, I want to click on that. They use mobile applications to ensure that they're managing inventory effectively and in real time. And they have an inventory that in some cases is very expensive, but in every case, the end customer wants it delivered correctly every time, right? So an example of a Chivas company is Pernod Ricard in Australia. And they started working with DSI to increase their shipping percentage accuracy. Because they invested in a platform that would help them meet their shipping and data collection needs, they also have a platform that allows them to use disconnected mobile devices on Android smartphones. And they can walk into a field and they can taste a grape and they note the taste or the quality of that grape and they can record any effects of pesticides. And they ended up with a tool that helped them manage shipping accuracy to optimize their business processes. An investment in the mobile supply chain platform from DSI gives them the ability to meet the needs that they have today, as well as unanticipated needs in the future. Okay? So kind of a quick presentation, but I wanted to tell you that in conclusion, it is crucial to have an organization that can easily adapt and ultimately survive in the evolving supply chain industry. As your businesses evolve, our ability to meet the needs of businesses has to evolve as well. And DSI has built mobile applications hundreds of times, and we have a talented team who can help you think through and design a process using DSI's tools. So whether you've got a really basic, straightforward need for AP approvals, or maybe you're trying to do some sort of warehouse inventory in the cloud, we're happy to discuss how we can help mobilize and optimize your supply chain. Thank you for listening to my presentation, and I guess we'll probably take some questions now if there are some. And I don't have the chat window up, so I probably need to find that if there were some along the way.
So, John, Eric here. Question did come up of how can DSI help to optimize the inventory in a warehouse?
Sorry, I need to turn my audio on. So how can DSI help an organization optimize the inventory in their warehouse? Is that the question?
Yes.
There's a lot of different ways. We have a lot of materials available online that would talk about this in specifics. In my role as an enablement consultant, I teach a lot of classes on the application development, and I have a lot of students that come to class with that type of question. And so one of the things that we take a look at is we have the certified connectors that would give the customers the ability to connect to their system of record and see their inventory. An example in the platform that we have that would allow for that is we have some a business rules engine that would say take advantage or we can put business rules in that would help a warehouse understand where to store certain things based on size or description. There's an example. You have different you have different spaces within your warehouse where certain things fit better, or maybe you have items that should be on the floor, maybe they need to be on the middle rack. We can use business rules within the platform to take a look at a description, or take a look at a size or a dimension, and suggest a storage location, and that can really optimize space, that can optimize efficiency, and can put things in a logical order. So there's an example of one. I'm sure we've got tons. Does that kind of answer the question?
I think that's a great answer. You gave the example of Chivas as well, as far as really enabling that end-to-end supply chain out in the field, from the grapes. Can you give any examples, in terms of inventory management, possibly outside the four walls, whether it's, I think you mentioned consignment maybe, vendor managed inventory, how you're seeing that, shift in the supply chain to require mobility outside the four walls?
Yeah, I've had some customers that have come through the training classes that have had some pretty unique kind of examples. I won't get into, for competitive reasons, I won't talk about specific, customer. I won't use names, but I'll give you an example of one that kind of moves outside of the four walls. So imagine a service order or a field service operation where you have, let's say, trucks that contain certain loadouts of equipment, and you have service techs that are out throughout maybe a particular metro area performing work. It's possible that we have customers who are building applications that are kind of treating each one of those vehicles as a mobile warehousing unit. And each of those vehicles has a particular stock of inventory, maybe their standard field service kind of gear. And so let's say I'm a field service tech, and I arrive at a location and I realize that I'm missing a piece of wire, or I'm missing a set of tools that I might need. Instead of having to make the trip back to the central warehouse to refit my loadout, I can actually use my mobile device and take a look at who's nearby in these mobile warehousing units. I can reach out to my colleague who may be just a mile away or a few blocks away doing the same type of work, and look at their inventory and see that they have the set of tools I need. And so I can go to that location, get that piece of equipment, go back and satisfy the customer that I'm working with in a much quicker way. I don't have to reschedule my appointment. I don't have to go across town. I'm saving fuel. So that may be an example. Does that kind of answer your question?
I think that's a great example. And, one more question here, I guess, not to put you on the spot, but this is a question I have here, John. I always am fascinated by hearing stories of DSI customer that purchased DSI for, one small use case and then really expanded it throughout the organization, not even realizing from the beginning that that was going to be the case. I think that's, the power of the DSI platform and, why so many organizations, are moving to utilizing DSI. Are there any examples that come to mind, like that case where somebody purchased it and once again, for competitive reasons, keeping
right.
any names or specifics, not mention those, but any examples that come to mind where that was the case?
Yeah, again, I see students that come through class, and a lot of times, the persona of the individual that might come through my training class is someone who has started with an organization or maybe been with an organization for a long time and has just recently adopted, DSI, and they brought it in to, say, do a purchase order receipt process. And they come to class to learn how to administer the system. And then they start to see things like, wow, we didn't realize that you have, business rules, or we didn't know that you had these application configurations that allow for us to do this particular process. Another example would be that I know that we put a kind of an emphasis in connecting to these big systems of record, but one of the things, kind of a shameless plug, one of the things that we built at DSI is that our entire online training platform is built on a series of SQL tables, and it's all built within using platform technology. And so I think a lot of times what people realize when they come to class or they dig deeper into it and they say, wait, I have this pen and paper process that I've been running, and I've had a data entry person that's been putting things into this table. Are you telling me that you can connect to this SQL table? It doesn't have to be in an ERP. It doesn't have to be in a system of record. And I can connect to that table, and I can create an app that would allow me to, quote, mobilize my that particular process, and we gladfully, we gleefully say yes, you can, and you can connect to that. And so there have been a lot of examples that I've had customers that have come through class. They had no idea that we were outside of just system of record or that we were outside the warehouse. And suddenly they're like, wow, I can do this neat process, and I can, deliver better value to my customers and provide, visibility and that type of thing. So.
Excellent. Well, I think that really appreciate some of those insights, John. The real world stories are always, helpful to hear and hear how others are using DSI's various apps and platforms as well. I'm going to conclude the presentation, and just one second, we'll shift back over to my screen here with a few closing remarks. So, as I mentioned, Meridian Business Services is a partner on the NetSuite platform, and we partner closely with DSI on integrating a variety of their apps, from cloud inventory to the field service to even one of their newest apps, which is DSI Direct, built natively within the NetSuite platform for inventory management both inside the four walls and outside the four walls, as we've discussed. So I thought I'd give a couple slides on the reason that Meridian works with the NetSuite platform. As you look at the IDC is a third-party analyst firm similar to a Gartner or a Forrester, who ranks various technology platforms. This is what they call their IDC MarketScape. This is for worldwide SaaS, so it's cloud-enabled mid-market ERP applications. And IDC named NetSuite as the leader for a primary reason. It's in bold on the right side, in that all of the ERP modules run on a single database and a single code base. So e-commerce, CRM, ERP, inventory management, project management, all aspects of the business, customer service, all on one common database and code base that's upgraded twice a year. So it's a true software as a service platform that upgrades itself twice a year, providing business agility and a rich feature set that keeps the organization moving forward, especially as we have such great technology shifts within our culture. And IDC indicated here at the bottom that attribute of the auto upgrading, the single database and single code base provides quicker access to data relative to other solutions and relatively easier and seamless updates. So NetSuite in and of itself has been around for about 15 years, and in the last almost, 20 years now. In the last couple of years, NetSuite has had a big push to build customer case studies, and so it's actually hired several third-party firms to analyze customers before and after implementing the NetSuite platform. And these are some of the results that organizations have seen across the board: a reduction in financial close of 40 to 70%, reducing invoicing costs, improving days sales outstanding by 10 to 20%, an overall reduction in IT costs by 45 to 75% by moving to the cloud, simplifying integrations by having everything in one platform and not having to maintain hardware on premises. I think this is a great quote from William Herrick, the VP of Finance at Glassdoor. They're really looking to streamline their operations and grow their business, not having to worry about expanding their IT infrastructure. And so by replacing all of those disparate systems with NetSuite, they're able to increase their transaction volumes by 5 times without adding staff and reducing the monthly close cycle from 20 to 5 days. This is a very common scenario that we see with organizations moving from legacy platforms to a modern platform like NetSuite. A little more on Meridian. As I mentioned, Meridian is a Kansas City-based CPA firm. We have over 12 years of experience with NetSuite as our sole focus on ERP solutions. We always look at it from a best practices, KPIs, financial data first, not necessarily just from a pure technology standpoint. Putting those first and implementing solutions to help an organization grow and move forward in this changing technology landscape that we live in. Our implementation model really drives bottom line results and operational efficiencies. And one of the key reasons is that many of our implementation consultants have years of operational end user experience in complex inventory management cases, distribution and manufacturing primarily. So once again, appreciate everybody joining us for today's webinar. Our next webinar in our bi-monthly series of webinars is on June 26th at 11 a.m. The title of the webinar is Your Website a Slacker? The Value of Integrated E-Commerce. And we'll be talking about NetSuite's approach to integrated e-commerce, so e-commerce, CRM, ERP, all in one unified platform and the benefits that provides to organizations. Once again, appreciate everybody joining us today, and you'll receive a recorded copy of this webinar. Please feel free to reach out with any questions to John or myself. Thanks again, and hope you have a wonderful day.